So a random little thought I had recently that I wanted to come on here and explore in a little bit more detail, and I thought may have been of some use to you, is that it feels like I finally stopped looking at conversations as a test. And the way I view them now is more like an experiment. So maybe you've heard this phrase that conversation is a test of compatibility between two people to see if you like each other. I think I always had this in the back of my mind. But the interesting thing was, it was always like in the other person's favor. It was always about me trying to win them over. Am I going to pass or fail this test of compatibility? Am I going to convince them in the limited window of time that we have that I'm worthy of their time and attention? That they would be making a good choice to spend more time with me. It was never me looking at them like, are they good for me? Is this someone I want to spend more time with? I was always in that kind of frame of mind, especially all throughout school. That I need to win people over. I need to be the one performing. I had this in school for a long time because having gone through a few years of having no friends and just having a very hard time, constant rejection, and getting mocked by everyone. I did get taken in by a group, but this group, I always felt like it was this dynamic of trying to win them over. I felt like I was low in the group hierarchy, that I was expendable. I was not one of the main members of the group. They'd always do things outside of school, just forget to invite me. But that didn't make me think these guys are not good for me. It made me think, I'm just failing the test of compatibility. I need to do more things to try and win them over. I need to be funnier. I need to be higher energy. Do this, 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 and this. And then they'll be convinced. So I've already touched on it, but the issue with this mindset that conversations are a test in some way is that it implies there's something which can be failed. That this person's view of you is something that really means anything in the grand scheme of things. Because in most cases, it just doesn't fucking matter. That's what I've realized since I left school. I can fucking handle people disliking me now. I don't need everyone to be my friend. And again, coming from that place of having no one and being desperate for any kind of friend, even if they're just a friend, even if it's the illusion of a friendship, we're not really proper friends. Going from that to now, it's been liberating. So, when it comes to experimenting, I feel like there's something interesting there. Like, what do we think of when we think of an experiment? We don't have to be perfect. We can actually make a mistake, but that might end up turning out into something kind of good. It's kind of like when we cook, when I'm cooking, I don't know if other people do this, I'll be following the recipe and then I'll realize, we don't just fucking have half the things on this recipe. So I'll just be throwing in random spices and shit and seeing if it's any good. I'll eat the food either way. Sometimes it turns out good, sometimes it's not that good. But it's not the end of the world if I get something wrong. And that's kind of how I look at conversations. I feel like experimentation, when it comes to your social life, is not expecting the world. I feel like it's being very pragmatic. I'm just going to do what's in my control and see what happens. I don't need to be flawless. I don't have to perform for other people. I'm just going to try something. I'm going to speak to this person and see what happens. I've had this a lot when I've been going on my solo travels. I've been doing like a lot of solo trips on my own, just around like different European cities. And that's pretty much come from my group of guys back home just being impossible to organise. Like, it's a meme in our friend group that we're never going to get to go on our guys' holiday. So I've just been like, I just said fuck this at some point, and I thought I'm gonna travel alone and see what happens. But it's interesting to me that some of the best nights of my life have come from walking into the common area in a hostel filled with strangers. I've never met any of these people from my life, from countless different places, and suddenly just feeling free. And I think that also comes from, being in a place where no one knows you. You don't have these like expectations. You don't feel like you have to conform to people seeing you, but to the way people see you. But it's like, because I don't know these people, I feel like I can experiment. I feel like I can take more risks. All right, Mum. Yeah, in a minute. Sorry, that's my mum calling me for food. I'm not going to edit that out. Yeah, it's the ability to take more risks. Show different sides of yourself. And just kind of not feel so much pressure. Like, I think walking into those rooms, I was definitely nervous. But it's also like not needing to present yourself as perfect. I remember walking into this room for the first time. Everyone's in there, there's a few people eating food, there's a few people drinking. And I just sit down with these girls. I literally just do the bare minimum. I introduce myself. I look at these girls and some part of me thinks I need to come up with a cool line. I need to make them think I'm really like, I'm the charming British guy. But I just went up to them and I said hi. And I just talked to them like a normal human, and surprisingly that worked. I'm coming through my notes here. Yes, it's the realization that I can be awkward, that I can start out things a little bit rough. I can be visibly nervous, but things can still go my way. Experimentation also implies some level of learning. Like, in a test, you get it wrong, that's it. You failed the test. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Experiment, some things can go wrong. But you're giving yourself permission to not be perfect. And when things don't go right, you can take away some cool learning experiences. I remember the first time I started really pushing myself socially. We just come out of lockdown in COVID, and I remember going, I don't want people to think all my social hobbies revolved around drinking. At one point they did, but I guess that helped a little bit in the beginning. But I was like 17, 18, going to the pub every night and just meeting these really cool people in the smoking area. And I remember learning for the first time that actually, if I am very warm and open with people, even if I've met them once and I ask for their contact details, most people do want to hang out again. There's not something fundamentally dislikable about me. Because I remember I had that as like this subconscious thought, like, even if I'm getting on with someone, even if there's like chemistry here, people don't want to make new friends. People aren't interested. And yeah, learning that for the first time, that actually people are way more open than you think, that was liberating. It's also things like, I guess a great way to tie this up would be, I've talked a lot how I feel like the point of conversation in general, or anything, anything in life is to have as much fun as possible. For so long, my social life just felt serious. Like if I fuck up, I'm never going to be able to recover. This is life or death. And you bring that energy into your conversations. But if you're just trying to have fun, if you're not afraid to loosen up the mood and not take yourself too seriously and make loads of jokes, to show your personality, to show your humour, that's just an absolute blessing. And people always follow the fun. That's what I've found. Again, crazy realization for me was, and it never would have come without experimentation, is learning that actually I don't have to really filter myself around other people. I can express my personality and my humour. I can make the same jokes around my friends. I can make the same jokes as I would around my friends with strangers, and nothing bad's gonna happen. Like, sometimes you rein in on personality because when it feels like it's a test. But I remember just the first time, all right, I'm coming. I remember the first time I gave myself permission to just relax and not take myself too seriously. I think this is as good a time as any to end the video. I've got to go eat my dinner, but take care.